Our office is very responsive. So that's one of the upsides of being on a smaller campus is that we are pretty efficient when it comes to that, seeing students where you may go to a big institution, you say, see the financial aid counter. Here, you actually can sit down. I meet with students all the time.
Welcome everyone to Navigating Financial Aid. We're here at Touro University, Nevada, and it is my pleasure to be here with Adriana Norman. Thank you so much. She's the Director of Financial Aid, and we're going to talk about all that here. And I think let's start this off, if you don't mind. The difference of financial aid with undergraduate and graduate. Could you kind of separate that and explain the differences?
Yeah. So undergraduate there's some similarities, but then there's the big differences where, unfortunately, as graduate students, there's no longer eligibility for Pell Grants. So some of those grants are no longer available, but the process is still the same where you would still receive FAFSA. There's actually a loan increase also that you are able to access. So even though there might not be those grants, there is still availability for additional loans, especially in the unsubsidized loan, and then also the availability of the Graduate Plus loan, which is a credit-based loan. All other differences is the subsidized loan, which is reserved for undergrads, won't be available. Again, that unsubsidized loan does increase depending on the program. It could go from $20,500 for a graduate student, but our DO students, actually that limit is even higher. So giving the opportunity for you to be able to cover those expenses of medical school.
Cool. So a little bit of things to unpack there. So let's just say, okay, I'm finished my undergrad, I'm looking at Touro, I want to come here. What's the first thing? How do I start the process with you all to start getting an idea of okay, what's this going to cost and how will I, figure out the finances for it?
Yeah, so the first process is to complete the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. The FAFSA now becomes available every January. And so you can always start that, add the school code, and then we get those applications. Once you are a student and enrolled, you do get your award offers. But that's the key, is always looking and getting that FAFSA done early on. You also want to start looking and taking a look at your budgeting. A lot of times, especially if you're moving here, you want to make sure you have that information where it's like, hey, what am I looking for if I have to move here? Most of our students are living off of their student loans. I mean, they're going to school full time and they cannot have outside jobs. So it is really important to have that budget and knowing that and knowing the cost of attendances. So on our website, you can see, depending on the program, you can go in and take a look at what the cost of attendance. One of the key differences are, a lot of people don't know, is what the cost of attendance is made up of two sections. So you have your direct cost and your indirect cost. So your direct cost is going to be everything that the school actually charges. So those are your institutional charges. Your indirect cost is what we say that an average student here may spend, but those vary for personal choices. So that may be different for a student that's here living with parents versus a student that's actually moving here. But that cost of attendance determines how much financial aid a student can receive. So it really is important to get familiar with that. And if you're looking at different schools, is comparing those direct costs to the direct costs and understanding where the breakdown is for that.
That's great. And if someone's in the process of this, or just, can they reach out? And is there, would you advise them to do?
Yeah, so our office, we have an open door policy. So anytime we speak to incoming students, our continuing students, parents, we can always schedule an appointment, whether it's via Zoom. We have Zoom availability. It's a phone call. If you want to step in and come into campus and meet with us, we're happy to talk to anybody. Our office is very responsive. So that's one of the upsides of being on a smaller campus, is that we are pretty efficient when it comes to that, seeing students where you may go to a big institution, you say, see the financial aid counter. Here, you actually can sit down. I meet with students all the time.
Who wants to sit down with you? You're so nice.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, so we so anytime, if any questions, we're more than happy. We are also part of the admission process for some of the programs. You will see presentations from our office that come into your interview. That way you are familiar with our office from the beginning. We're there at open houses, different events that we have. We're always available and open to all of our students and our prospective students.
That's great. That's so good. I love how it's, there's a huge benefit. You know what I mean? When you're part of the process and you're friends with the admission people and you're you're all working together to hopefully, help a student get from point A to point B, which is great. One of the things we were talking about prior to hitting record here was you were like, it's interesting because there's sometimes there's scholarships or things that will happen throughout the year or will become available throughout the year. Can you explain a little bit of what that is?
Yeah, so we have different scholarships. So anytime there's any internal scholarships here at Touro, our office handles to make sure that you know about them. So the students will get information. Sometimes we work in conjunctions with admissions if it's a prospective student, but we always send out the information, application deadlines, anything that you need in order to apply for these scholarships. So those can come out throughout the year. So not always like a traditional school. Sometimes you would think, hey, all scholarships are at the beginning of the year, and then I have to apply, and I didn't meet the deadlines before getting accepted or anything like that. We're a little bit different where our scholarships come up based on funding. So we're a nonprofit, so we do have a lot of donors that send in scholarships. So those opportunities may come out throughout the year. So it may be maybe some of them that have a component that says, hey, it's a merit based on your first term here, your GPA. So those you can always look out for those all throughout the year here.
That's great. It's almost like Christmas throughout the year.
Right.
You never know.
It's the best part.
Yeah, it's great. Well, I thank you once again. I've been saying this to everyone all day here. It's like, thank you for having the college tour here. Your team everyone's so friendly and nice, and just want to encourage everyone when you're watching this episode, you're watching this video, or find out about tours another way. There's nothing better, I believe, than picking up the phone, or reaching out, whether it's an email, it's a text, whatever it is, just get on their radar, because then they can help guide you through, the next steps in the process. Is that good advice?
That is perfect. Yeah, pick up the phone, send us an email. Like I said, if you want to schedule an appointment, we're always available. Just reach out to us.
Thank you so much for doing this. You all are fantastic, and just really appreciate you having the college tour here.
Thank
Cool.
you.
See you next time, everyone.